Saves that.
Oh.
But what you say?
I'll take one of these, but I've got to start reading. He's not allowed to, he's whatever. Then I have to go sell water.
Yeah.
So your doctor might have a break. There's only three. Oh, that's a Valentine's community. Because we're not baking anymore, right? You think I know?
Yeah, I don't think, are you gonna need me to continue to submit invoices for an independent contractor?
No,
So it'll just be part of it.
it'll just be,
I
I,
asked you to make sure that it was, work with it was with the employees, that way it just falls.
yeah, that's what I was assuming.
Well, yeah, no, it will go,
Same schedule,
yeah.
same schedule as the employees.
So I've got three left, that I haven't collected, I'll
Right.
submit that and then we're on.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was assuming we would write the first, because he left blank what day of March. I figured we just start March first. I mean, today's only the 9th.
Right. I
And if
don't,
we say effective March first, and then,
Then you start actually at the same page. rate
yes, with everybody else.
As we all start.
gotcha.
Does that make sense?
You're not here. You sure you don't want me here tomorrow?
I'm still debating about that.
What's tomorrow?
Well, I've got 3 outstanding, so I usually wait until I have.
You still have a whole other week, you know, it's not the 21st.
No, okay. Well, I don't want to screw with the steel leaders. Okay.
I don't know what you mean, so.
Okay, we'll get you on Monday.
Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and start. It's 6:02 p.m. And this is gonna be a work meeting for the town council. And I had a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about that are not on the agenda. I don't think that that's an issue. Did you write it on everybody's agenda or just mine? Sure. Okay. I had 2 other things that I'll bring them up at the end. Those are definitely things I want to talk about. If we don't talk about them here, as I was telling Crystal, he said, well, it's not on the agenda. I'm like, it's just a work meeting. And I said, if I don't talk about it here, I can walk out the door and talk to you guys outside because of what it's about. It's just not a big deal. I just want to talk to you guys instead of making phone calls to everybody. We just talk about it here. Okay. Well, actually, I'll just. Okay, I told Kent that I would move item B first. Because he came to answer any questions that we may have on his proposed ordinance that he had all put together. And we talked about, it was talked about last night at the planning commission. And I told him, since he's going to work it up, make some revisions and work it up to present at the public hearing in April on planning commission, I told him, come tonight, hear what we have to say, and then he can incorporate it, whatever we may have into the ordinance he's about to write. So I told him to do this first and then he can go home and go have dinner. So,
He's the only one here that's skinny enough to go home and have.
have dinner. The rest of us need a break. Okay, so, this is about, as you guys know, we signed off on something for the BLM. They want to, we signed off on the archaeological survey that they had done, and they want to sell that land that surrounds the BMX track. And the town has wanted for years to see something there, and it's right now is designated, it's open space. And that's what the zone, that it's zoned open space right now. And it is because that property fronts Co-op Terrace Road, it touches the road, that makes it eligible to be rezoned highway resort zone. The way our highway resort zone location is right now. And as I said last night at planning commission, when they were talking about this, that I was on town council when we first started talking about extending highway resort zone up Co-op Terrace Road. And even though it's not in what passed in the ordinance, it was always intended that it was only going to go to that intersection with Co-op, with Pocketville and Co-op. and it wasn't gonna go any further. It was always just gonna be that little section because it was close to the highway. And what actually passed just said, it fronts Coolock Terrace Road, and I'm like, well, that can go anywhere up Coolock Terrace Road. And, so Paul and Kent proposed an ordinance that, you can see here what their proposal was, that they would change this to say on item, under 4406 location number 2 is where they're making it a change. Just saying that, the property on the east side of Co-op Terrace Road, could be zoned highway resort, and, last night, if I'm correct, you were there, Gene, and so were you, but it seemed like what Cameron was leaning toward was saying south of the intersection from Coolock and Pocketville. And
So
you,
it's south of Pocketville and Coolock Terrace,
right where the
but
intersection.
on the east side of Coolock only.
No, what they're saying is, let's just make it on the east side of Coolock. That's what this
That's what you
proposal
said.
is. That's what this proposal is. And what Cameron was willing to say was, no, we'll make it on both sides of Coolock Road, just south of that intersection. And then there was more discussion with Kent and the others, and they were trying to move it down a little farther south of the intersection. And so Kent is here to answer any questions that you guys have about what was his proposal, his suggestion, and he has a map here for everybody. And if you look at the map, what is got the lines going across it? That's the part, I was surprised, I thought it was a larger section of that BLM land that is being proposed for sale. But it just goes right across the north side of the BMX track and then south to the border of that BLM property, and then it hits this private and Washington County Water Conservancy District. And then, of course, some of it goes on the east side of Coolock Terrace Road too. But those lines is actually what they're putting up for sale. It's not the entire thing, which is what I thought it was.
It's just this part.
It's just the south part of the yellow, and, is what they put up for sale. And so, as you can see, all of that touches Coolock Terrace Road, which would make that, in our current ordinance, eligible to be highway resort zone. And if we wanted, it's presently zoned open space, and if we don't want to see highway resort issues up there, then we need to change the location for highway resort zone, and that is where Cameron and Sean even was agreeable to that, correct?
He was a little bit quiet about it, but yeah, he has some interest there.
Of it being at that intersection
Yeah,
and south.
yeah,
Okay,
you're talking about Shannon.
Sean and, yeah.
I went back, just for your general knowledge, I went back through my notes. And you'll have to listen to meeting notes too from that, open space meeting, but I'm, from what I can
You
find.
mean
in my
the open
notes,
space meeting when it was
Right.
removed?
I believe that what we agreed on at the council at that time was that anything that had been open space would then revert to rural residential. But you'll have to listen to the actual meeting notes, because
Okay.
there's nothing in that ordinance, but.
Yeah, because there's nothing there, so at the present time, it's still on our map as open space, and so,
So
that's what it is.
I had also heard that it was rural residential, that Gene looked it up or pointed out to me that. But I guess technically it referred to, resorted to open space. Rather than
That doesn't exist anymore, so
Right, but
there's no way for it to be something that we don't have a zone for, so.
no, that's not what Heath said. When I talked to Heath, he said if it was open space when the zone was removed from our code, it stays open space and they have to come and ask for a rezone.
I think you'd have to do that anyway, but
If they don't want open space, they would have to.
you're
do
talking
that.
property that's being purchased.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'm not talking about this other,
that's, it
I'm only
doesn't
talking
matter.
about the BLM.
I don't think it matters what it, because it wasn't in the, it really wasn't, I think even if we annex land, they would have to get a zone.
Mhm.
They can't just say, oh, we're this zone, they'd have to get a zone, so anybody that comes into the town or purchase property that's not, I would think, that's just my opinion.
So Cameron, what we decided to do is to talk about that issue of the BLM land and where the location for highway resort zone is. We were talking about that very first thing on the, we moved that to the top of the agenda so that Ken can have input and then he can go home.
Yeah.
So that's why we're talking about that right now. And so what I said, you correct me if I'm wrong, but what I got out of the meeting last night is that you were acceptable with it being south of the intersection of Pocketville and Co-op Terrace Road, and that would remain eligible for HRC, correct?
Yes, yeah, because I don't think that, homes are a good fit around the dome.
Okay, and that's why you want to keep it eligible HRC.
Yeah.
Okay, but you were okay with moving the HRC down, the eligibility down to that?
No concern, no strong feelings either way, it doesn't bother me at all.
I'd like to see it HRC eligible from Pocketville Road South, both sides of the road, but I would definitely like to see that anything on the other side of that is not. In case the town ever annexes the staple or anything else. Just my opinion, when they put in the national byway, one of the things it was supposed to do is push traffic up Co-op, which nobody local wanted. And I don't think we should be extending all of our commercial up that way beyond. The borders of our town's fine, that's a great spot to start. I think we should shut it off there. That's just my opinion. And we had talked about that new piece of property not having that option, so I'm fine with that.
Any thoughts, Leroy?
Oh, I'm fine with the south of, Buckettville. On both sides. of the road.
For some reason, I have Rodney bring around it.
So here comes Pocketville Road, and here's Co-op Terrace Road, and right now, so here, this land is what's being sold for sale. That's Co-op Terrace Road, and right now, what our code says is directly fronts Co-op Terrace Road and located, no.
This is all water conservancy, so.
East of the western quarter section line, of blah, 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 under the condition that, that's what says now.
Yeah.
What we wanted to change it was, say, directly fronts Co-op Terrace Road south of the intersection of Pocketville. Okay, so this is the intersection right here.
So it would go down this way,
Or along Co-op Terrace Road.
only right there, and it wouldn't be down this.
No, because that's, well, this is water conservancy district land right here. Right here is where the guy's doing the lines landing, that's right here. Okay. All right,
Because then it'll put the building stable.
and so,
It's just that, it's kind of still raw and not, doesn't get nearly the traffic. I think the more we extend the town up that way, the more traffic we're gonna get up that way.
so what Kent was proposing was, and I'll let Kent explain it in more detail why, but he was proposing that the location where that would become south of the trash dump, that anything from the trash dump north would not be eligible for highway resort zone, and the trash dump should be the dividing line instead of the intersection with Pocketville Road. So I'll let you explain more.
So why?
Yeah.
To start with why, I've had, as a neighbor in Pocketville, I've had concerns about, the pressure on city property that, borders the two main thoroughfares, getting from, developers who want to do tourist, motel, hotel, short-term rental, RV campground. And in an effort to, in my opinion, this is, as you mentioned already, the prime spot for somebody for Full Terrace Road developer to look at this property for sale, for auction. And to say, man, this is just a no-brainer, you know, sending people and, Jeep tours and whatever, a Polog and taking them up to the park and everything is just a perfect spot. Wildflower, you know, is an example of that. So in looking at that and trying to work with Cameron, I called him and said, here's what I'm thinking, and making the east side still eligible for HRZ, Full Terrace Road, but, not eligible for the west side. And Cameron said, well, and he started to inform me and enlighten me as to down at the bottom at SR9, there's that little strip that's right there where you turn. It's along the girls' school that's used for different things. It was used for Red Bull last year, parking, for the marathon. That's owned by Water Conservancy District and it's in a floodplain. And we can't put residential in floodplains anyway, and so it's basically going to have to stay HRZ probably more than anything if Washington County Water Conservancy District wants to do something with it other than to own it. So he and I have been fisticuffing over the idea, and he's been really open to my idea, but he'd like to see that from Pocketville south to SR9 on the west side, stay in its current ordinance zone of R&R with eligibility to go to highway resort. So he and I are still fighting that out, and I'm kind of with him on this. I'm not so concerned about from Pocketville down. And I'm not so concerned about where we draw the line, but I do think there's a lot of opportunities for the town to restrict the west side of Full Terrace and protect the neighborhood concept of the development that's been starting over the last few years and will continue, I'm sure, for rural residential. And also, we've talked about the concept that I heard a long time ago from Sean Ammon. When I first moved here, that his dream was, and others, to be able to have a city recreation complex around the BMX park. That there might be a soccer field or a baseball field or a town swimming pool someday, and it could be around the BMX park concept and include the BMX park as we continue to push and support that. The idea of that being part of that as a rural residential neighborhood instead of a commercial HRZ really appeals to me, and I think helps the town in whole, not just Pocketville, if we can work toward that. And as some people have mentioned to me, if we do this, it's going to change the value of that property and it will change it down. And BLM probably may come and want to be involved in the public hearing on that. I think that may present an opportunity if we do this for the city to be able to someday be able to work with whoever owns that and whoever buys it to work out something for a city complex, a future city complex, where we might be able to participate with baseball tournaments, kids baseball tournaments that travel down from Salt Lake and other places and coordinate in the county with Bergen. It's big, and St. George is big, and Washington is big, and we can be a part of that someday maybe. So that's where our thoughts are, and we talked last night about where to kind of draw the line here, and we're still kind of fighting about that.
So what I was thinking was, the reason why I put this on the agenda tonight, was that we could give them some direction what we're thinking. And, if we're thinking, yeah, we like the idea of limiting the eligibility up to a certain point, what would that point be? And if the point's the intersection of Pocketville Road and Co-op Terrace Road, then we need to let them know. And if we're willing to negotiate it further south, we need to let them know, compromise and move it further south, we'll let them know that. So that since he's drafting an ordinance for to go for public hearing for next planning commission.
Okay, well, I'm gonna send a piece, but I think the compromise is the new property that is not eligible, but that everything south of Pocketville Road remains as it is. That's my opinion. I think that's the compromise. The new property coming in would have the option of HRC, which may or may not drive the price down and may make it eligible for someone in the town to purchase in the future, who knows, but I think that's a good stopping point for anything along the canyon. So that's my opinion.
And
I think both sides of the road can Pocketville down.
going down.
And I think it's just like, we spoke, I think by doing that, then it drops the price down.
So,
So it might make it so that someday, we might be able to buy it.
yeah, if we make the change, we definitely have to notify BLM. Because it affects their property, so the public hearing notice would definitely need to be served on them. And, I'm not sure it needs to be served on Water Conservancy District, because they're already eligible.
Oh, yeah, we're just getting rid of those, but
Yes.
they're touching where we're gonna end it, so you have to.
Include them.
I think if you're going to, then, or if they decide to go ahead, it's almost like a little bit very cheap.
If that's where we end
South.
it, they have to do it.
Okay, yes, Karen.
My understanding from when we've done this in the past, made changes to the ordinances. That, sometimes we do notify people as a courtesy, but because we're not actually changing, making a zone change. We're only adjusting our ordinances, notification is not required.
That's true.
That may be, but I know, didn't,
I'm sure it would be nice to tell.
Yes.
Because
if it's going to affect-
Space, it'll be open space after this change.
but if it affects the value that they're going to be expecting at the auction, then I think they are entitled to know.
But of course, that's just our opinion and
Yes.
affect their value.
Yeah, it may not.
Maybe not.
Okay, so I think we're all kind of looking at that intersection of Pocketville, and as I told you today, given what I know has been proposed at that intersection, one side is where Rocky Mountain Power wants to build their substation, and the other side is where Water Conservancy District wants to build a pump station to send the water up the road. Right at that intersection, it's gonna be two kind of industrial looking things, so I can't see resort going up past that.
Yeah,
It'd be like a breaking point. So that's what I'm thinking. Because Rocky Mountain Power is asking, Water Conservancy to sell that land.
It's a good
on that.
point.
Yeah. So. So if we're thinking that intersection works for us, then, yes.
One counter to the thought of Pocketville being the dividing place. As Cameron has pointed out to me, a good part of the bottom along SR nine, well, all along SR nine is eligible, but the Ruggles property is eligible for HRC, it already is HRC, I think. So they did that.
It is, some of it or all of it?
All of it.
Okay,
And that Ruggles property actually goes up over the cliff if you look at the map and touches on Pull-Up Terrace Road,
okay,
right below the dump.
okay,
So I don't know, I haven't talked with anybody over there about this, but that slope up to the hill and of course around the water tank hill, on the other side, we've got residences, and on the west, or on the south, we have residences on west and south, and now we've got a development going on the other side of that hill that's being proposed along Pocketville. And my concern about from the dump site up to Pocketville, that section right there, And actually even from the bridge on up, to Pocketville, to me, presents another issue of, do we want things to be open again for HRC? When is enough, acceptable to us? So I've argued with him a little bit about, for example, wildflower and that in one way I look at it as I'm coming east and I really like the looks of the glamping operation. And another way, something tweaks me that I'm not supposed to like it. And philosophically, he's noticed that at night, there's some lighting issues in the sky from a glamping operation that there's not from the hotel. Because tents are lit and light is going up and there's no way to shield that. So, I would like, again, that's my argument with Cameron, that I would like to protect that side. I think it could be residential, and in arguing with my wife about it, she said that nobody's gonna want to put a home there next to the dump, and I said, it's not really a dump. It's not a landfill, it's dumpsters.
So it sounds to me like what you're afraid of is that if it ultimately gets sold by the Water Conservancy District and becomes HRC, that it'll have a lot of lights. Is that what you're worried about?
That's one of the things, I just say, where do we say no to HRZ and RV campgrounds? And putting a trailer, campground alongside the hill there. It's not really gonna be observed by me or really affect me, because it's out of view and out of sight and out of mind. But I just wonder as to how we want that to look as people drive up Colab Terrace Road. Do we want
Well,
bunch of RV campers?
and who knows if Water Conservancy District's ever gonna sell the land anyway?
I think there's just there's just so
A
many
lot of
things that
ifs.
we may decide at some point that we want to remove those type of uses from the
The highway
resort
resort
zone.
zone, right?
There's a lot of uses in the highway resort zone that give property owners options to do more than they can do in other commercial areas. So I think we're shooting way out, because we don't know. I mean, that could be 20, it may never happen, but it could be just the infrastructure work to level a piece of ground out there would be astronomical in cost. So I think.
And if we
I
get
just
to
think
you,
we can look at options.
if we get to you and it's Colab Terrace Road, is that border, is that line that we draw?
You mean
of the
Pocketville?
chain? Pocketville, excuse me, is the beginning of
Or Indian Point?
not being eligible for highway resort. I'm more than happy with that compromise and to be able to have some opportunity to do something different.
Okay.
Than that around the BMX park.
Okay. That's good, because it sounds like we're all at that intersection. That we're all agreeing with that. Okay, all right. So that tells you what we're happy with.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you, and I'm
You're
gonna stay for A.
Okay, you're gonna stay for A?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna go on to C and then do A. I wanted to just get this stuff about the, Public Works location on Pocketville Road, out of the way. One of the things I've wanted to do is to create a location for Public Works and to have an office for them over there so that they're not over here. And that they have a yard, like basically a Public Works yard. And they, so I have always wanted to have an office over there. And I was just thinking I would just get another Connex and have it set up as an office. But, Chase said he would like to see a structure, a shade structure over there that they can put the equipment under, because right now it just sits out there exposed, and he would like to have a shade structure. And then also he would like a building that's a garage with a roll-up garage door where they could pull stuff in if they needed to work on it and be out of the elements while they're working on it. And so I told him, go get pricing. And so he went first to this company called Man Cave Structures. And they came up with, they had given us a price for the shade structure, the garage, and the, office building. And those all together, he's gotten them to rebid. But if you look at the two things from Man Cave Structures, right now, just these two, they're from Man Cave Structures, they're just for the shade structure and the garage. Because we decided that the price that they had given us initially for the office, we could go over to this Cumberland and get a building that was far less than Man Cave Structure for the office. So we kind of, so he got pricing from Man Cave Structure, some pricing from this Cumberland. This is that place that's across the street from, sideways from Tractor Supply. Okay, that is Tractor Supply, right? Okay. And then I asked him to get pricing from one more place. And this is this email with two pictures attached. This is from Johnson Carports, I guess it is. It's this one, it's an email and the two pictures. This also is just a shade structure and a garage. I think we're, from everything we've talked about, we're more leaning toward this Cumberland building for this right here. This here, I think we've all kind of just agreed we liked the look of the Cumberland building for the office. But, so the other became,
What's going on with that? The
Thank you.
building.
That's
the fires,
I thought that it was ours now and they just needed to clean it out.
No.
Have it.
they are insistent that is their building. We don't even have a key.
Do we have, I think we should look back through what we have to make sure that that's the
I
case,
think it's.
because they don't do squat with that building.
Well, they were there the other day. I went down, I was meeting Chase down there to talk about this. And when I drove up, there was someone from the fire station there. And they had been there just earlier that day because it was kind of muddy. And there were tracks from where they had pulled the trucks out and then pulled them back in. Because I asked them, if you guys are pulling trucks out, I want to see exactly where they go so that we see what we have to work with. Because we wouldn't want to get in their way. And so Chase measured everything and we saw where it would go. And he's been getting prices that would not interfere. But if we had the fire station building, that'd be great.
Well, that would do,
But-
that would be if you were working, being able to work on something. It may not be the shade structure, and it may not be your shop. I don't.
But it would fit the garage, but it would cover the
We
garage.
need to look into that, because I remember
I
back,
do too. Even if they.
back when it was originally when Bruce was mayor,
Uh-huh,
even then we were talking about that was our building.
building.
Even
And,
if it isn't our building, even if somehow or another they got either a long-term lease or they own it, they don't own the land.
no, we know that.
What I'm
That's,
saying,
that's
is if we want to use that back parking lot, they would have to figure out another, I mean, they can go out through the front.
Right, but we
But I
really
would
need to check it.
think we
Oh,
should-
I don't mind that, but what I would like to find out from you guys, because we had gotten another check just recently for ARPA funds. And I researched it and they can be used for administrative build facilities, which is what this would be. And so we could use the ARPA funds that just came in to pay for whatever we choose to do. Now, I have
38,000.
Gotcha.
So I have no objection. I just would like for what you guys think about these different bids. What do you think about the idea? And I have no objection to saying, let us go check out the fire district, what our contract is with them. And make absolutely sure that we don't have access to that building. And then I will bring this back up at our town council meeting on the 21st. That's plenty of time for me to check that out, get an answer. But I wanted you guys to be looking at this because the sooner the better to get the shade structure, garage, office building and things like that.
I think we need to get a bid on power going to that and also on water and a restroom. It's
Yes,
gonna be-
yeah, all that would have to go too. I understand.
I'm not opposed to it for a couple of reasons. One, I think, I'm not so worried about the working on stuff as much as I am like the brush hog and things like that. They're seeing like where those hoses, those hydraulic hoses and stuff, there just get sun rot on them. So it'd be nice to be nice to protect our investment, and I think it'd make it a little more secure too. But I
Yeah.
don't know somebody can pull in there and hook up to any of that stuff and drive.
Drive off.
They need an area, they really.
They do really
Need an
do.
area where they can do everything.
They can do everything and that's where
Especially
they,
since this is a venue and
that's really
part of
useful.
it, honestly, that whole area is
Yeah.
part of it,
Yeah.
so.
So that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted you guys to see what pricing we're looking at, but I will follow up on,
Can we have the, if
the
you
fire
find a contract, can you bring that in? I'd really like to see what this contract is that we have with the fire department there.
Cause everything that I remember. And that's a long time ago, but it was ours, and we were just waiting for them to get their stuff out of there at one
Well, I
point.
know there's
And
a
it
pretty
may
big
be-
push from the county. They're pushing pretty hard to get a substation up in Co-op, which that
Right.
would be the only purpose for them having that there as a staging point to go to
Right.
Co-op. They're gonna get something Co-op, I'd like our building back.
But I think there's something to it that.
I'll check, but I suspect that one of the reasons we were waiting to get it back was because we were gonna build that fire station on the highway.
Right, cause there was that's been a talk since Bruce, and so
Yeah.
it's been a conversation, but I think in the middle of that conversation, we still own the building.
Yes, I
So,
agree,
yeah.
I
I wish I
think we
knew where it all was.
do. Okay, I'll see what I can find about our agreement.
They should have a copy of it if they're claiming
Sure.
that. So,
Yes,
anyway, that's, I guess the reason I'm asking is I don't wanna move ahead and buy a bunch of stuff if we own that building and we.
But if we find out, whatever we find
Yeah,
out,
I'll find out.
I like the direction that,
the idea.
yes, and especially like that Chase is on board with it.
Oh, he's already
telling
measured, he knows, he's already laid out how he wants it.
Right.
He wants to move the Connex down here, he's already got it laid out.
That's
So,
If they do own the building and we own the land, they should be
You
paying
pay
us
us.
a lease,
oh,
and we should ask for that.
speaking of, I got a phone call from Sitla the other day, and our water tank that's on Mesa Road is right inside the corner of Sitla land, and they want us to start paying them rent for that water.
Which tank?
The one on Mesa Road, and we've looked it up, sure enough, it is, you go up Mesa Road, it's BLM, and then there is the border with the Sitla land, and there's our water tank, right in the corner, right there. It is barely over the line,
Yeah,
and they want us to
What does
start
he
paying
have
them.
to say about that? I think we better.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him, I'm just letting you guys know.
Because how many years have you been there?
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I've got to talk to Jay, Darcy suggested I talk to Jay Lee and get that info.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And so, but I just wanted you guys to know.
You ought to ask Jay about the fire station too, because he was in there when they started using it.
What I'm gonna say is when Lee and Alan, Lee and all these guys are gone, we're in trouble.
We better sit down and do some oral of those two. So I'm gonna talk to Jay about the water tank on Mesa Road and, the, fire station.
Right.
Okay, so now we will go to, item A, which you said you wanted to hear about. So we have nothing from Heath yet.
No,
I just thought we could at least talk about it
okay.
and see what you guys are thinking. You and I have already talked about it, and you've given me your, idea, but I don't know that you've talked to Misty or Leroy at all about it. So go ahead and tell them what you're thinking.
So after the last appeal, one of the things that I understand was discussed among the councils being a concern is the lack of being able to determine what's level one, what's level two, and how do we set standards for that? So when I went down and talked to Heath about something else, and we brought up and started talking. And one of the concerns that, or what he was saying as well, would be by size. And I said, well, if it's by size, then there's no need for level one. Because the only thing we've had in the time that I've been here that would fit based on small size is a flushing station. Everything else has been a large project. And some have gone to council, some have not, and I've based it on other things. It's too, sometimes there's other reasons besides just scope that goes in. So I said, look, what about this? This was my suggestion. I've been thinking about this for a while. What if, because one of my concerns, one of the other concerns was the public hearing portion of this. And you know, because you sat on commission, and you know, because you sat on commission. You have a public hearing over something like a large project like Stoop River's Camway. They come in with maps and plats and everything else, and they plop it down in front of the commission, and the commission looks at it and goes, in their head, I have no idea what I'm looking at. I have no idea what I'm looking at. In the public view, they're like, yeah, this looks great, blah, blah, are you doing this? They ask questions, but they don't know what to ask, and it creates a situation where we can create level twos that are missing stuff. So what I suggested was, what if we have public hearing with the zoning administrator? I gather all the public input, I take all the staff knowledge that I've got, as well as if I need to touch base with the engineer or others, we get all that information together, write recommended conditions, and then it goes up to the commission to approve or deny. And if they want to then open up for more public hearings, they can, but they're not required to. In fact, the CUP does not require a public hearing at all. This is according to Heath. There's nothing in state law that says it requires it, but it's not a bad thing if we can get public comment and not public clamor. So the idea would be, I think it'd be a little more informal if I could sit down with people and say, all right, let's talk about what we can do to make this work or what the concerns are. Get that stuff down, create actual conditions. So everything would be a level 2 CUP, comes through the staff first, conditions are written up, handed to the commission. And then the commission votes yes or no. And he said, his response was, that's the way most towns do it, is that the conditions are written by staff, and then they're handed to, I'm sorry. What did I just say, commission? Conditions are written by staff. Then they're handed to the commission, and the commission then looks at them and says, yeah, we want to add more, take more away, leave it as it is, whatever, but it's not something where they have to have this grand knowledge of how a plat map works. So that's what I propose here, is what he's supposed to be writing. So,
I still think, my personal opinion, I still think the public should have the ability to tell the planning commissioners directly what they're thinking.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's one of the things, because I brought it to Paul first, because he was the one that had the basics right. He
Okay.
said, as long as there's still public comment, he goes, it doesn't even need to be around the, so let's use an example. Let's use Stu first, KOA, since that's what's on my mind today. We write it up, we get the conditions, it comes in. All he's saying is, as long as you still have just your regular public comment time in the planning and zoning so people can talk, I'm fine with it. He goes, you don't even need to have a special item number for them to talk about that item. He said, if you've got public comment where people can still express their opinion, I'm fine with it. That was his opinion.
Okay, and you're okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I feel like it's a disservice, especially to, and sometimes good developers, sometimes bad developers, but it's a disservice to a developer or a homeowner or anybody else to a zone change or anything when public can come in, a small vocal group can scream and yell and frighten the commission into the point they're like, well, we better do something, rather than actually having good data and saying, this is
Yeah.
the pros and cons, and this is what our recommendation.
yeah, and I understand that you've got your public clamor, and then when it's a legislative action, then ultimately where it's going to the town council to make a legislative action, then it's not public clamor, it's only public clamor when you're administering the law that's already there. But, and I understand, the public clamor, they frighten people, but you gotta apply the law the way it's written.
It's okay, but I mean, the key point being, the CUP does not even require a public hearing in the first place. It's an administrative function.
Right, it's an administrative function.
But I think it's a good idea to have input. I'm just thinking specifically about the gas station. That night that we had that, there was massive public comment. We pulled one thing in, because most of it was, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. But we had one person that said, hey, could we put fast growing trees to protect our property?
Yeah.
Then when it came time for the commission to talk about it, the room emptied. Nobody even stayed. It had nothing to do with actual public comment. It was just coming in and force and scream, yell, and scare the commission.
I see.
That's what I'm trying to avoid. Is to set up where we can get actual comments and put stuff together that makes sense, hand it to the commission, and they have a way to be able to look at stuff without going in a panic.
Okay,
That's mine. So that's what I've asked him to write up. And he said that it's pretty common in most places that way anyway. The staff writes them and the commission approves it.
so do you think you'll have it where we can, because it's gonna have to go to, public hearing at the planning commission. So do you think he was gonna have it written where we could maybe have it for public hearing at their next planning commission meeting?
I hope so.
Okay,
I hope so.
all right. So,
I've got to push him a little bit sometimes. It's busy again, so,
okay,
but I will. Anyway, I'd like to hear what you guys think about it, honestly.
I think that's, As long as we still have public comment, I think it's a reasonable suggestion. I like the idea. I have seen where other towns do have public meetings where the developer and the I don't know if they call them the zoning administrator, the planner or what, but I have seen that they'll have meetings. They notify the public that they're gonna be there, so you can look at the plans and ask questions. And it's not at the planning commission, it's what you're talking about. And they can come in and ask their questions, and then they can think about it more. And then when the planning commission has its meeting, they've got more informed, they can make a more informed comment.
But it gives us a chance to have 2 times that they make comments.
Right.
Yeah, we're,
I like it
we're
because
now,
it
they
takes,
just come in.
yeah, and it's not just that they're scaring the commission, they're scaring themselves. And so if they have an opportunity to go and talk one time, and then they have an opportunity to talk again, then they can actually be more logical, they're not scared anymore, it's not a fear tactic, it's more, okay, I'm educated now, so I understand where I'm going.
So what was proposed in this deal is that this meeting with the developer, the zoning administrator and the public is way more informal.
Right.
So the plans are laid out, people can talk, they can ask questions, they can make comments, whatever. But that when it comes to the commission, that there's not a line item for that. Once we have all the standards put in place, we hand it to the commission, this is what the recommendation is. If the commission wants to say, well, we want more public input, they can do it, or they can say, no, I think we've got enough information, especially if they attend as the public and see what's going on. The idea is to take the pressure off, because there's really not even a need to have one public hearing. Why would we have 2, 3, 4, 5 over something on a CUP? Most of the stuff with a conditional use permit is very limited anyway. All it's trying to do is cover bases where the ordinances don't. I mean, if you look at most of our CUPs, it's a replica of what we already have as ordinance, saying, okay, you gotta build a wall. Well, that's already an ordinance, but we're doing it as a CUP item. But anyway, so the way he was writing it up was that the commission meeting, it would be optional if the commission wanted to have public comment, beyond just the open forum. Sorry, trying to catch everything we talked about, but that's pretty much it.
So you like the idea, Leroy?
I do.
And you do too, it sounds like.
Yeah, I do, I like the 2 comment
Okay,
periods.
so we just need to let Heath know.
I'll be talking to you
Okay.
anyway, so I'm still working on this other stuff.
Okay, and I just set a meeting with them today. I set a meeting Monday morning, so if you haven't talked to them by then,
I will.
I'll tell
Okay,
I'll
yeah, it'll be
make
next
sure
week.
what we talked about.
Okay.
them. Okay, so that Kent is what we had to say about the CUP guidelines. Okay, so then, let's see, that's A, then B, then C. I want to talk a little bit about D, item D. I'm gonna get to my other 2, and then we'll get to these things that came from P and Z. So I'm still concerned about the parking on 700 West in front of all the parking there of the stuff of the stuff business. And
Did he buy the lot next door?
I don't know,
Because that lot's been cleared, like they're gonna build.
they're gonna build on it. They've got a building permit.
He owns both these lots.
And so,
So is he gonna store his stuff there?
no, and this is why I brought this up. I had no idea about owning the lot next door.
But he's not for- But it was
And but
sand and hilly and.
he could have, the stuff could have been moved on that.
Can I make a
And
suggestion?
so we, no, I can't, we let it go, we didn't make him move his stuff, and then we come in and now there's a building permit and he's building an external accessory dwelling unit to be an Airbnb.
Can I make a suggestion? There's nothing in our ordinances that stops from anybody from parking anything at any time on the public street. There's none. There's nothing in our municipal code that I could find either, but I think we should have something in the municipal code. And it doesn't have to be as stringent as Reno. Reno's what you cannot park something for more than 24 hours on the public street, it has to be moved. So they'll come and spray a tire And then you have to pull it forward, pull it back.
To cover up the top of
Well,
the
you
mark.
gotta move the mark, show you moved it. Regardless of, I think it would be good in municipal code to say something, you know, but
Okay.
remember, this applies. It applies
To everybody on the road.
Even when there is
Yes.
also stuff on the same street. at the
Yes.
end.
And you and I have talked about
Right,
that.
and I was driving
Well,
down the
and-
street tonight and look, there's a big green water tank parked on Willow
Right.
Street coming down the street.
Where?
All those- Right up here on Mill Street.
There
Oh.
are multiple places in Virgin
I
that
guess what I'm saying.
park their cars, or their cars have been sitting there a long time, or whatever, they're on the side of the road, so. If we plug that in, we have to be prepared that
That's
that's going to encompass the entire town.
I
And
understand.
I don't think we should target just one person.
No, but that,
And so it would solve that issue.
But
Yes.
it might just
Not
be,
targeting
it might just be as simple as saying in our municipal code, you cannot park business equipment or materials on a public street.
and that you, I
Because he's
thought
got
I used to
trucks.
say that.
But
Yeah.
he's also got cement mixers and.
Well, but Kenny's stuff is not
That's right. It
a
applies.
business. His stuff's registered to him personally, I'm sure, not as his business. So there's a sticky place there, that's what I'm saying, if somebody that's registered their vehicle, for themselves, they're gonna,
It's my own equipment, yeah. no
Yeah.
question.
you know what I
I
mean,
don't-
it's, there's a little.
You know, if we do that, we got Paul Gooch back there, that's
Right.
got all his
Right,
trailers.
it's not just these.
Actually,
two-
the-
Yeah, oh, yeah, I know, it's all
It's
over town.
controversial, it's not just happens to be, those two just happen to be the ones that were brought up previously.
In town.
Yeah, but there's a
Right.
lot more than just those two.
And I've spoken with that individual multiple times, said, hey, you need to get your stuff off.
Right.
Yeah, I'll do it. And it goes, some of it goes off for a while, but then it's
Right.
back, because it's easy, I get it. It's
It
easier for
creates
the local
traffic
to take
jams.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like whoever it was that was parking an 18-wheeler up there.
right,
And I don't know who that was, but they would park it there, and I understood why, but it's like, it really doesn't belong there,
right.
so.
Yes, I don't know the answer, but I think we should, I think it should be a municipal code thing, not a land use ordinance.
Okay.
And we got the halls that park their big,
That's what I'm
Or
saying,
trailer.
it's the entire town, it's not
Say
just
that?
I think it should be
right.
this
here.
body that does it as a municipal code, not as a land.
Oh,
use.
certainly, I agree. Okay.
Yeah, and most of those should be written in as municipal codes, not.
We've got a lot of stuff in our land use ordinance that really should be in this.
Mhm.
That is something I'd like us to look at and see what we can move out of there, because you look at some of the stuff in land use and you're like, well, is it really a land use
But
issue?
I know why it was there, I mean, it was hard because we were so small, lack of staff, and now it's so much bigger, we need to evolve and make it work.
And we moved out quite a bit of public works
Right.
stuff
Mhm.
years ago.
Yeah, that was, yeah,
so then you'd write the municipal code on business equipment.
Yes.
and parking on street
And
parking,
parking on-
I
yeah,
feel like that
parking.
could benefit in a lot of ways, because we're concerned about on-street parking. With a lot of our other developments that are going in, STRs and things like that,
Mhm.
if we had a municipal code, it would solve that as well.
What about changing that a little bit to say, other than private, and I'm just throwing this out, think for me around this, because I haven't put enough time into it. Something like other than privately owned personal vehicles, all other commercial equipment, construction equipment, blah, 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 needs to be parked off.
But then again, we're only hitting one.
No, I wouldn't, because if you say commercial equipment or construction equipment,
If you say other than personally owned though, vehicles,
private person.
private, there's still,
Yeah.
Show me, what are you talking about?
there's still some of those that those are their personal vehicles, they're not their business.
Right,
vehicles, They're
right.
also
You
their
can't-
personal
You
vehicles,
can't
so there's
stop
that
people,
line there.
you can't stop people from parking.
Well, I know,
You should say nobody can park.
Right, but I don't think it solves 100% of the
No.
problem, not even, I don't even think it solves 80% of the problem.
You might talk to, he might have. a way.
Yeah, you might have some wording for it, but
Yeah.
it needs to be, because it's not just a commercial vehicle problem. There's safety hazards with some of those vehicles being parked where they are.
Yes, Cameron,
I'm gonna shoot myself, because I just like the whole of it, but
you dislike all of it?
Yeah, I do too.
the word is, what you're searching for is personal auto, is what you should follow on public streets.
What's the-
Personal automobiles.
That would be pickup trucks, yeah, it's not
Without trailers,
without trailers.
That's not.
Without
that's-
trailers.
Trailers.
That's what I said.
so if it's hooked to the truck, it's not considered a personal auto.
A pickup.
I mean, this
I
can
mean, but the
be,
trailer attached to it,
this
that's all
can
I'm
get
worried about.
super muckish.
That's where I'm drawing that line, though, is the
Ridiculous.
trailer, so maybe he saw, but maybe that changing the wording a little fixes it, but, because the trailers are a
you know,
problem
saying
too.
You could get this super ridiculous.
Oh, you could, but we're not going to.
Well, you say that, but when you write it in the code, it becomes super ridiculous, because then you're either gonna enforce it or you're not. That's, I don't wanna hash old stuff. We have to write ordinances that can be enforced, that make sense. So if you hook up a tent trailer to your car and there's not room in your driveway for the night, you're gonna be taken off in a couple of days and you're loading, you have it out on the street, that would apply to you and say, no, you can't do that. So we have to decide,
Right,
how do you,
hence the 24-hour limit.
I was gonna say a
Or
limit of so
whatever.
many hours in a
Right.
month or something like that. Cause if you say a 24-hour limit, they'll park for 24 hours and then move somewhere and then come back.
There's
next day.
always a loophole, no matter
There's always
what
a
you
loophole,
say,
yeah.
just like this prepaid, they just had to pull forward and then.
so that's the question, I guess, is this?
St. George said
We're all
it has to
looking at
run.
one, we're all looking at one particular individual in the entire town. Are we saying?
I know.
Just
I'm looking
applies
at
to
it.
No,
everybody?
No,
I'm
you say it needs to apply to everybody.
And so, but I'm encompassing everyone, I'm not talking about one or two individuals.
As she said, we're,
There, at lots of places in Virgin, it is
Yeah.
sketchy to just drive down the street.
and
You
you
might
might
hit
be
a
able,
kid, you might hit a car.
You might hit a pig.
You have to stop in certain places and only go one at a time on a 2-car road. You have to stop and let the other person go around.
If you guys are gonna write this ordinance, you guys need to put what the infraction is going to be, or it's.
Exactly.
Right, it's
There's a lot.
Like,
That is something he
You
has.
guys have to
Yeah,
put what the
exactly.
infraction is, and I would suggest maybe looking at Springdale.
Don't
On
say
road
that.
parking.
I don't like what they do to Springdale.
Well, so they have a really good one, and
yeah,
they
she
say
said with some of the distance or brother.
they have boots that they put on vehicles that are not being moved.
Which we would not do, but the law enforcement could.
The law enforcement.
Where's the line you draw that? We need to draw a line. Because it's hard, because you don't want to go there, you don't want to go personal vehicle.
Yeah.
But yet, there's still a line.
So we've talked, Mayor and I have talked about this before. There's a lot of ordinances in town that are not enforced because it's so rampant, so widespread offense. How do you do it all at once? We either have to eliminate that ordinance or make it to where it can be done to where it makes sense. I'm not in the opinion, I'm of the opinion it's not wise to create another ordinance that's unenforceable. So whatever we do, it should be done very carefully, and it should be so Nazi-ish that it just pisses everybody off in town over one or two individuals that are causing a problem. And Heath may have some ideas, but I don't know. I'm not turning a blind eye to the particular instance that you've written here, Mayor. I know it's an issue. I just don't know how we deal with it. And
I
I
just-
just fairly,
Yes,
right?
I understand, but I wanted to bring it up so we can talk about it.
It has to be dealt with as a whole.
Yes, I am absolutely in agreement with you on that. No,
'Cause he's not
no
the only-
disagreement.
Those two, that he's not, and also the other one, they're not the only vendors. They're-
No, I've seen other,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
I've seen others.
It's a single offense that, I mean, we're talking about everybody. We need to figure it out.
And the running vehicle thing, I'm absolutely opposed to.
And if that,
That's-
I'm bringing it up as they've drawn a hard and fast line, and that's their hard and fast line. It has to be registered and it has to be able to be driven. They've got these, and I know because my friend got a ticket for it because their vehicle was not registered, and it was that far onto the sidewalk. And they got a ticket.
oh,
In the cities. that-
It's a hard and fast line,
No,
so
that's a huge deal.
it is. So then they had to pull it forward and cover it, was the way. that-
and that's how we got around
Because
it.
they had to pull it into the yard, so it was not in the public yard, and pull it forward and cover it.
Okay,
There's, so as I said, there's the extreme on one side, and then there's what we need to come up with for ours.
And
okay.
make sure it's not.
So the conclusion is we're going to start writing up something that could go in the code, but this is going to go in the municipal code, not the land use
I
code.
think we should have.
And we need to keep an eye on small town, when we're looking at this, and I'll look at it too. We need to
See what
look at
other small towns do.
Because that's where we are, we're still
Yeah.
small enough.
Oh, yeah,
We wanna go off of there,
Leads.
take it, parents, even things like that, that are small.
Yeah.
That we can take the lead from.
okay. All right,
There should
I'll
be.
have to look for it.
okay.
I'm gonna put it
Write
right
that down,
I'm
you're
putting
gonna
it
start
right
working on that, okay. All right, so, you know what, I'm gonna talk about my other two issues before we get to the P and Z stuff, they should not take that long.
I feel like we're flying through it.
Oh, I'm very happy so far. Okay, so at the town council meeting, I brought up the fact that, the speed bumps, when we talked about speed bumps in Pocketville Road, that, we could, when we were first looking at the speed, rumble strips. When I first was looking at rumble strips, the way they put them, you've got 3, and then you'll go up further up the road and there'll be 3. You know, however you do them in little groups of 3. But just 2 sets of 3 going all the way across the road was almost $30,000. And so, but when we went to speed bumps, we could get 3 sets of 3. But although the way they do it is there's a speed bump. And then the next one is a speed bump and then a speed bump. So it's not in groups of 3, it's just a single speed bump. But we could get 3 speed bumps for approximately $7,500. That is the speed bumps and the street signs that say speed bumps ahead.
And
That-
install,
No, what they said to us, this was Utah Barricade. They said they would come help install and they would guide. They didn't say whether that was included in the price. They just said, we'll help with everything. So I'm assuming that the 2 public works guys would be involved.
yeah,
They have to figure out where they would go. I told them if we do this, I want the road words, speed bumps ahead painted on the road before you get to the speed bump. So that they have adequate notice. And if anybody speeds over those and they damage their car, it's their own fault. And they can't sue the town because they were warned and they ignored it. So, that's what I'm thinking.
How effectively do those stay on the ground? Like, is that?
From what
Probably the bolt in.
They're both.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah.
what's the life on those?
Let's
So
see.
I just might, I'm thinking, we're gonna have nobody's gonna sue them, or, you know.
Let me see if, well, of course, if they ultimately result in the traffic saying, oh, well, let's go up
It's
there.
all right,
There's a
but
speed
yeah,
bump, so that's
but
longer.
yeah.
Let me see what I have here. If I have something on, let's see if I can find my emails from them. Let's see, this was Utah Barricade.
I'd really like to see this one go to a public hearing. The reason I say that is everybody complains, well, not everybody. A large group complains about traffic going up there, speeding, kids walking, all that, but I would like to hear the public that doesn't come out when they find out you're gonna have 3 speed bumps on the road now.
Yeah,
You might find out that there's gonna be people say, absolutely not. I don't know, but I think it would be good to bring it to public hearing. That's,
I agree that I have been concerned that we put them in. And all of a sudden, people who wanted them in suddenly are complaining because they have to go over these speed bumps to get to their house. I'm like, well, this is the next thing to try. Because I went-
complaints about the stop sign when they went up and they were begged for, so.
Yes, so,
I never complain about it because I always miss it. I forget.
but I went back and I read the minutes the first time there was talk about Pocketville Road and speeding. And that there was concern that the town would get sued if we put in speed bumps, so let's try the stop sign. So we tried the stop sign and that doesn't work. And so here's the next thing, and so this is the next step in what is done. When you say a public hearing on
I'm just
this,
saying-
or public comment,
Yeah, it's something where people can be notified. Hey,
are we talking about the people, everybody in town, or are we talking about the people that live along Pocketville Road? Because I can do like I did before, where I had set up a meeting and sent out a notice to everybody that lives on Pocketville Road to come and talk about it. We can do that again.
I think it should be everybody in town, and the only reason I say that is that there are people that work up there who go through that area, and I'm okay if they don't like that, but I would like to hear mainly from, I think you should involve the whole town. but it would be
So
nice
your
to-
rumble strips you're talking about, are they raised?
Yes.
Or they just-
They-
Have you
yes.
seen the ones that are dug out though?
Oh,
They're
okay.
only about like that, they're, and
I
they're
forgot
dug
about
out, things, how much are those? Cause those actually wake you up and make you go, oh crap, I need to slow down a little bit.
those are the ones that are expensive.
Those ones were, or the above ground ones?
The rumbles do.
The ones like the middle of the highway that are dug in?
No,
No.
these were metal.
Those are.
No. I'm talking about the ones like, they're similar to what's in the middle of the road that's dug through, but you come up on an intersection
They,
and they're
they
in the ground.
those, yeah, those are built into the pavement, they're just, I don't know how they do it, there's a piece of equipment that.
It looks like they just, yeah, it looks like
Fix
they
it out.
just kind of stamp it, but I don't know how they do it. This is just my lame
I think
understanding.
they cut the pavement, part of the pavement
Right.
out.
That's what I'm talking about, exactly. Part of the pavement's cut out. And there's like 8 or 9 of them in a row right there, and it really wakes you up when you hit them. It's just like hitting the yellow line.
It does. Here's my personal only concern with that is, that doesn't slow you down once you're used to it. If you're driving fast and you know it's there, you're gonna burn right there, but you have to slow down for a
For a
speed.
speed
Or
bump.
you're gonna launch into your seat.
That's true.
Yeah, I was thinking that if I lived up there,
You
I
wouldn't
would-
want to hear that.
I'm sorry,
You wouldn't want to hear that either, because they make a loud.
they're loud noise, but no, I
That's
was
true, too.
thinking how you could, depending on where you live, that you could turn Sierra Bella, go in through there, go up to your house up there, and you would not have to hit any of the speed bumps.
Yeah.
So the people that live up there, they could do it that way, some they could not avoid the speed bumps. But but I was like, if I lived in certain areas,
I
I'd
guess
go in
I'll-
this way.
Gina, all I'm saying, I think they should go in. I mean,
They should
there's-
what?
I think they should go in, but I think it would be wise to just say, one last time is, are you sure this is what you want? Because once we put them in,
Because we
we're not
already
gonna
for
revisit it.
for them.
Yes, it's for them,
It's-
right,
So we need to make sure.
yes,
He's a them.
these are them.
He's a them.
Next, pocket color. Undeliverable pocket. Including Karen. I was stopped at the post office this morning by 2 pocketbook people. One of them asked me if I knew what the big buses from Salt Lake were all about during the marathon, the Springdale Marathon.
Yeah.
So between 6 and 7 in the morning, 5 big, huge tour buses.
Yeah, came through, they were dropping off runners, they came from Springdale, they dropped them off, and they came down Hill Road, and then went back to Springdale.
Right, so I don't know, but it was like really early in the morning, and we got buses going through a neighborhood. Is that necessary? Was it?
Well, where else were they going, the problem is that where the starting point for the race. The way it was situated right there up Co-op Terrace Road, the buses went up Co-op Terrace Road. Where were they gonna go up and do a U-turn and come back down? And coming back down Co-op Terrace Road, they couldn't have come back down Co-op Terrace Road if they wanted to, because it was blocked off with all the runners getting ready to take off for the race. The only way they can come back is on
And that's
Pocket.
one time a year, that doesn't.
It's only once a year, and it's only for 2 hours.
I'm sorry, but you're talking about driving through a neighborhood.
I understand,
Yeah,
but we're
but
talking
At 6
2,
or 7 in the morning.
But you're also talking about a public street. And so you're either gonna
It's not a
restrict
private
all the
road.
traffic going through it or none, but you can't say, oh, we're only gonna allow the cars to light it.
it's only once a year for 2 hours.
What's the traffic?
The school buses, you're right, the school buses
I
right here.
understand it's once a year. But I understood her concern, both of their concern. About the noise and the traffic at that time on, or was it Saturday? I think.
Saturday morning.
So I understand that it's a pain in the butt to the town, the people complaining in Pocketville.
Okay, I get,
And the people in town who have driven that road all their life even with their grandpa.
Okay.
And things change.
okay, all I will say when it comes to the Zion Half Marathon is up until about 3 years ago, they staged on the bridge in Rio. That was the staging point. And the first 5 to 6 years they did this, those buses came into the Rio de Zion neighborhood at 5 to 7 a.m. in the morning, and they turned around right in front of my house and went out. And
Yeah.
there it just, I didn't complain, I thought it was interesting, I went out and walked down to the bridge and I watched the start of the race, I thought the whole thing was interesting. And they have this, when they were over there by us, by Rio, Cause they would set up in Stu's land where it didn't let them this time, cause he's getting ready to start his construction. But they always started in right there by the hotel. And they would have these bright lights that go on at 4 o'clock in the morning, blasting in my bedroom window. And starting at 6, they started this pounding music. Oh my God, so, but Niles always participated, so we were up. And so he was getting ready and he would run the race and I'd go right down there and wave everybody off, so. And
I
then
guess
it
what I'm
was
saying
just okay. with me.
Every street's got that. The one that runs by ours, 50th, is a town road that comes in and goes back out. In the summertime, every day, I guarantee every day, at least once a day, somebody's looking for Grafton or they're looking to how to access Red Bull Ring. Because they stop at my house because it's the biggest house. I'm out there talking to people all day. Do I like it? Not really, because it takes away from, I mean, I like talking to people, but it's a waste of time. However, I don't want speed bumps on my street or something that's gonna be a pain in my behind. So I'm just saying, I think the public should be able to say, yes, this is what we want for that street. I don't care about the people that own property up on Cola that live in Washington.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to retrain, but the people that live on that street have to understand, we do this for you, it's also gonna affect you.
Yeah,
And are you sure you want this? And I think that that's important, because otherwise, in 6 months, we're taking it back out of this.
okay, all right, I wrote it down, we'll get public comment one last time.
Yeah, I would imagine that Crystal has all the addresses for the people that live there.
Oh, I've got it from when I did that charrette, I've got it all in a database.
We should notify them in an email or letter
I think we
saying,
should
hey,
first.
we're going to have this to talk about what's going on. And it could be a special meeting.
Yeah,
And
okay,
just have them come and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Is this what you really want?
okay,
Period.
all right,
The other reason I would like to see the town is the scouts have property just on the other side of the fire station.
yeah,
They
right,
have, Larry lives there. I mean, even though Kevin and the rest of them do not, there are people that have needs to get up to that area.
yeah, I know,
That don't live there, so they can get down the whole,
yeah.
over to the town. But those people should get a special invitation.
Everybody who has property up that road, yeah, okay, okay. So the last thing that's not on this agenda that I wanted to talk about, I got a phone call today from, Whitehead. Ron
Oh, yeah,
Whitehead?
these.
Can't, I wanna make sure
Are
I
you talking to the sewer guy?
no, that's why I wanna make sure I'm talking
I
with,
know that. Somebody can.
no,
Is that the county? Because they want to pay it?
yes, they want a letter of support from us for pay, he was calling everybody today, he was on us. And, he called, they want it by tomorrow, because the document, the grant, papers are due on Monday at Stewart's office, so that they can submit it to the federal government. And so they want a letter of support, and I said, we're having a town council work meeting tonight. I'll bring it up to the town council members and see what you want to do. And he sent me a sample, I asked him to send me a sample of a, letter of support that they had from somebody else, just so we could see what they're looking for. And, I told him, we'll talk about it, I said, it's a controversial topic.
Do that in this meeting?
I'm sorry?
I mean, we can talk about it.
We can talk about it, but he was wanting a letter by tomorrow.
There's no way to do that. I mean, we can.
That's a short notice. So
Next, we want public input, even though it's not.
well, we
recorded.
had talked about it, I had it on the agenda when they first brought this up, remember, I read it, we had it on the agenda of town council.
Yeah, so maybe we can just do it.
We've had some public
Do you
input on
remember
it.
and you were gonna ask for stuff. You were gonna ask for something in return, because that's what.
Yes, but they
Roscoe's
have made clear, with Rockville that not gonna happen.
Which I figured there wouldn't be funding for all that, but.
Yeah, and, there would be nothing, no.
You know, my opinion, and I'm sure gonna make some people mad that live up in disregard. But that's gonna happen eventually.
That's what I
So,
think,
you know, why don't we support it? I mean, it's gonna benefit the town. We have town boundaries go clear out there. And,
The concern about, can we ask for no lights on it though, like we were talking about, because I mean, I don't, most of them don't
That's
have
what we-
lights.
no streetlights or anything like that.
Like
right?
getting closer to the intersection.
It's
Yeah,
like Mason,
getting
it's
closer
like
to-
Mason Road, they're just
There's-
gonna, they're just gonna.
They're gonna hit it like that,
They're
there's
just
no
gonna-
traffic light.
Yeah, it's not going to become a big,
It's gonna be a little two-lane highway.
yeah, that's what
Like
it
it
would
should
be.
still
And I
be
know
two-lane
all the
area.
people with the houses along the edge there, I feel so bad because they'll have street light, car lights right in their windows,
But no dust.
but no dust.
That's the thing. You
And that's
can't-
it. You can't win it. Yeah,
To
so,
everything.
so I thought about the impact on Desert Gardens.
Right.
But I look at all these different neighborhoods around town that are being impacted by the growth. I mean, look at me and the neighborhood, what's going in right next door to me, there it is, and there's going to be, we're putting speed bumps on Pocketville Road that are gonna make some people upset. There's another street that's ultimately going to get paved that is going to make some people upset. But it's gonna happen. And with the growth that's happening, everybody's gonna be impacted and everybody's gonna be upset, but we're all going to have to just suck it up and that's what it's gonna be.
I like the comment that was made several years ago, somebody was complaining about some sort of change, and one of the council said, if we didn't accept change, this would all still be open land with people raising cows on it. Things change is the.
Well, so someone came to me when I was on town council the last time and they were like, I can't believe you voted in favor of the hotel, I'm shocked, and you look at it out of your kitchen window. And I'm like, well, they were in the zone and the zone allowed it, and what am I supposed to say? I'm like, I can't say no.
Now
And,
it's very nice.
and so there it is, and I've gotten used to it, and now
You know,
part of me is like, well, with these houses, they're gonna go in now, I don't have to look at the hotel.
you know,
So-
I haven't seen any impact with that hotel to me.
Well, no, it was impact, it was only me and maybe, the
Yeah.
house where the Allens are, because we look that way. And I took a picture before, the day before they broke ground, to say that I'll never see this view again. And I have my picture on one day, I'm gonna frame it.
I will say this for this, back to the pocket room, or back to the sheet and driven idea, the letter support. If you've ever ridden a four-wheeler or you've driven a razor on a dirt road, when you come to a turn, the funnest thing in the world to do is to fishtail. There comes all your dust, there's a lot of your noise, and the interest to ride on that road specifically for those guys is because it's dirt.
Oh, well, yes,
You go up on top of the mesa, once you get past into the pavement up there by the Air Force Depot and you head onto the dirt. It's just full of people riding their motorbikes and everything up there because it's dirt. I think paving it will actually cut back on that kind of.
It'll make it less dangerous for cyclists and all that too, because we travel that energy all the time to go to Canap. And the cyclists are always telling us we're going too fast when we're going the speed limit because it's bringing up dust and it blinds them. And they're yelling at us and cause, like, some of them jumped in front of us before, and my husband's like, I
Did you
don't
cry?
speed.
Did you cry for them?
I just cover my eyes and let Malachi handle it, cause
Darwin Hall, rest in peace, had the best deal. He says, I really like people that ride bikes. I just don't like them when they're riding their bikes.
yeah, I think it would add some safety.
Okay.
As well.
all right, well, I just wanted you guys to know, I got this phone call today and they wanted a letter by tomorrow. And he was calling everybody that he needed letters from Water Concern, not Water Concerns, Nature Conservancy, some of the landowners out there, hurricane, because they're impacted. And,
So did they support the Perkins?
I don't know, he said he had me on the list and we talked and then he's like, oh, I'm all day, I'm on the phone. He said, it said, please email me a template, a sample letter, he did, and he's like, I can't talk to you anymore, I got too many phone calls to make, so.
I'd be surprised if.
I know.
I'm being surprised if Perkins supports it because that is a scary intersection right there.
That isn't even it.
It's the, this,
Maverick and Laverne and Maverick, they're out of all that.
All
extra
that-
traffic. They will bypass those towns.
that's why Hurricane and Laverne will probably not support it.
That
It
makes,
will
I
affect
didn't
their
even go
business.
that route, but I went safety. I went safety, I never went that route. Okay, that makes sense.
They'll lose tax. and-
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you write the letter? I think you should, just like.
I do too.
Do you feel like we really have a choice? I mean,
No,
honestly, it's been in the works for years.
good.
it's been, it's, that's where I'm going, is.
It's gonna happen. It's been, they
We can
started
say
it.
no now, I can write a letter now saying we don't support it, but for all we know, they may still get the funding and that darn thing's gonna go in.
Well, you sent us that training where they were talking about the 30-year plan.
Yes,
Because this one was on a
30-year plan,
and it's coming to a head now.
Yeah.
So,
so,
Okay.
okay.
Make us feel like we have a say.
right.
They're just, there's like, oh, we'll just pretend here. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda was, the proposed definitions, and I thought we could at least look at L and M on this, thing from, planning commission with these definition changes.
The planning commission approved these up. Can.
They sent them to us quite some time ago.
We had them
Approved or
earlier.
no? They approved everything. Approved.
Yeah, they recommended approval.
Unanimously, if I remember right,
What?
unanimous.
So I thought, I had looked at these the other day, and so when we get to certain letters, of this is L through Z. I know there's certain letters of the alphabet that will only have like one definition, and the letter will be able to hit like 6 or 7 at a time. But, well, actually, 6 letters, not 6 word, definitions. So let's see, if we're doing L through M, this may be. That is these first 3 pages, pages 1, 2, and 3, or L through M. With that, we're on to a different letter. So we're only looking at the first 3 pages here.
And a little bit.
I'm sorry?
A little bit on 4, the red on 4.
Yeah, just that.
It's attached to hotel.
See you later, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
I'm just go through. So, first 4 with line A on the machine.
Hmm. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I was gonna say that definition for land use authority, I've definitely seen that in the state code. If that's taken from that.
I probably have a concern about lot line front.
Oh, I haven't got down there yet. Okay, lot line front, okay?
And my reasoning is, not all lots have. Not all lots abut a public street or a private street. Oh, they do easement of access. I'm sorry. That's okay.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
don't
I
have
just
to
was
check it.
thinking that it just said public street. I didn't read all the way through.
So will these be coming to us this month?
This,
They are
They
to
are
us.
to
We have
us.
to vote on them next week, in
well, no,
We just.
no, we're just starting, making,
Oh.
we're only doing a couple of letters of the alphabet.
Oh, okay.
The whole ordinance is for L through Z.
Oh,
We're only doing L through M this time.
okay, got you. So we're not putting it on there.
No,
L through M. we're not.
no, but we can at least say, these we're okay with, and move on to the next letters.
What's the 135-degree street corner thing, Karen? What's that? You know what that's about?
Are we on the corner? Yeah, corner.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't be off the my seat. I just.
So the 135-degree would be. It's still a corner lot. But instead of being 90, it's 135 degrees.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
So
it's
they're
going
changing the recall. Yeah,
to one street, right?
yeah, so that's the,
I was thinking the degrees coming the other way, so there's a arrow.
lines,
That makes sense.
that's the recollection.
Well, now, this definition of lot depth, I think you're going to have another definition. The mean horizontal difference between the front lot line and the rear lot line. I think we're gonna have mean horizontal distance that's defined. frontage here.
I don't know, but think with me, lot depth. Where would you need that, when would you use that information or something?
I'm not sure, because most of the thing I ever see about a lot is they really just want to know how many square feet. I see how many square feet is the lot, that seems what I ask more than anything.
I guess if you had a funky shaped lot on the back, say the front was straight, you had a funky shaped lot, and you're trying to figure setbacks. Then you can take your mean,
What's the mean?
that's where you're taking all the, making an average. Which might be beneficial, because if you have a strange shaped lot like that, your corners of your house might be 2 feet from the lot, and the centerpiece might be 30 feet. So you take the mean and it gives you a setback. That's probably a good one, but you're right, probably should find that out
Cause that's
for us non-mathematicals.
That lot next door to Larry Pugh has a weird back. I bet that would fall into that.
Which side,
That would be.
you're not talking Janet's house, you're talking the one that's undeveloped right now?
Larry's old house that he sold to the.
Yes.
To the house, that lot is just south of there.
It's undeveloped, yeah, that is a strange shape,
Yes, yeah.
very
The
odd.
back of it's really strange shape.
Mhm.
No, that'd be important. That would be important. I can see that. So we should probably have that.
Who knew you needed this many pieces of information about a lot?
Yeah.
Funny how much of this stuff comes up though when somebody goes to build or.
You can read each one and come up with a justification for why it needs to be there.
You have a concern on lot through, and he changed lot double frontage, you cross that out, and then changes to lot through.
Where's lot double fronted? Oh, there it is.
Cross it out completely.
This is second.
He's only looking at lot through. So I don't even know if we have any of these in town, but I do know that we have streets that have, or we have houses that have double frontage. We have
Uh-huh.
several of those. I
Right.
think that should somehow still be in there because that plays a part. So I've had at least 2 since I've been in, where a perfect example is Merced. He has 2 streets, and so when we're determining side setbacks, it's only 10 feet. When you're determining front setback, it's 25.
Like my
So I
point,
have to know which is your front. Yeah, your house is the same.
yeah.
So if you were building there, I'd have to know which is gonna be.
We had
your
to set
front.
back 25 and 25 when we were done.
Oh, did you?
We didn't-
That's why our house is where it's at.
And we didn't require that. We said you have to be 25 and 15.
Right.
Because the town only needs 15 feet for any of its easements, and that was the suggestion of the building inspector.
It's always been an issue when it's just like, if you-
Build on 2 lots.
No, he's on.
it's even an issue if you're building a fence. The
But
definition
it's
of that is even a big issue if you're building a fence.
Are you talking percent? I don't know. I don't know about his-
Cause like my house faces
Well,
this
somebody
way,
was-
but I wanted a 6-foot fence this way. So we had to build it in a certain spot when it was a lot more. than
Yeah, the reason that we got brought up is
Previous staff, we had to build it where we did, because it was a 6-foot fence, because we have 2 fronts.
Okay,
that became a problem with the
Okay.
property just north of Old Home Acres. They have 2 lots and they're flag lots. And so doing a 25-foot frontage, 25-foot frontage, They literally could not put anything on the
Mhm.
property.
If we didn't
It's-
have the long lot, it wouldn't work at our house either, if we didn't have that long lot.
It'd be nice to address that.
Mhm.
So I think the double frontage thing. Yeah, I'm really trying to make me remember.
You're young, you should remember.
Because corner lot is already defined, so Rich Merced would be a corner lot.
Okay, you're right.
Her house would be a corner lot. So a double front lot would be
Oh, like the ones in Hurricane.
front and back, so it would be like,
So maybe you own both property, if there's 2 acres with a street, so you own both acres, you have a street going on both ends of your property.
yes, just look at,
Gotcha.
for an example, here in town, it would be.
Anybody on
The
this,
subdivision that's right on the road, you guys are just talking about paving, and their back,
Right.
their backs come up to that.
does a
They have double frontage.
Some of those lots have.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The Coombs have double frontage.
Right,
Yes.
and some of them take that, they have that road that goes down to it, so yeah, that makes sense.
Now, there's several with that, and
Yeah,
that
look
side
like
of
all
Desert
of them.
Gardens.
Oh,
All
along
along
that.
Sheep Road are all, those are all incoming, yeah.
lot width would either have to choose an appointment way or mean horizontal distance, can't do both. Are you looking at these with us? No. It says, this is lot width. It says the mean horizontal distance between the side lot lines measured at right angles to the lot depth at a point midway between the front and rear lots. If it's mean, it's taking the entire and then figuring out the middle. If it's midway,
Yeah, that's correct, you can't have both.
So we gotta take mean out of it?
no, I think you should leave that in, or take out that point midway.
We must have missed that.
No wonder I didn't understand that one.
Yep, looks like he addressed the Merced issue right in the next one, so. And yes, that's good.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what we should,
So who wrote this, Sean?
yeah.
So I know in the past, the administrators, they, a long time ago, they would tell people where their houses had to face.
You guys are just saying you like the definition for front line.
Yeah, I like that because some
It's
houses, they
designated
would like, it would be.
side of
Yeah,
the house.
that's it.
Because I should decide where the front of the house, is. You know, not me, I'm talking as a like a landlord, they should decide where they put the front of their house.
There were 2 or 3 houses in Rio. One was built and the front door faces the corner.
Mm,
That's-
And when Leroy's house was first designed, before it got built, it also was designed to face the corner. And then as they started building it got turned and faces the street
mhm.
instead of the corner, but that would have been the front door.
Well, most people will turn it to
So,
face.
The streets, but this one
most-
house,
the
this
most
one house
appealing
got
houses.
built. And
That's
it
the
totally,
Larry, what's
Yeah.
his last name? The house?
yeah, his house totally, the
Fronts
the corner, was straight at the corner.
so
But if it is a funky
that's
shaped
good.
lot that kind of goes weird, then you would want your.
Right, but if you're facing it, that's where this would come into play, where you say, all right, you're facing the corner, so you've gotta be 25 feet mean.
Both directions.
Right,
So we have to
Both
take that,
sides.
we have to take that bubble and flatten it out.
Right.
You've gotta move your house. So from that corner, you'd be way back. or you'd be
Yeah.
Way more back than you would be on this.
right.
And that's really a corner lot. but he-
It's a corner lot, but they
but
made
he
the
did-
house,
Yeah.
The way they
They
turned
changed
it.
they
changed
turned it like that,
Mhm.
so.
Does it look appealing though?
It doesn't look bad, not at all, it's just that you wonder, well, what side is the front? Is your address on this street or is your address on this street? Which is it? Because the way it faces.
So that's
the
what
corner.
happened, like, with a lot of corner street, they don't know if my back door is my front door. Or even the curve, clearly you could see that the house, the front doors, where the porch is.
Yeah,
Well, Gene's front door was the back.
yeah, it was, the way our house was designed. What is now my front door was initially the back door. And when it was sold, they had a landscape architect come in and do what they could to make it clear that the front door is where it is, and it is not clear. You wouldn't believe how many people come. They go right by my front door, they go knock on the side door, they come around by my swimming pool and knock on that door. They can't tell. I know,
I mean, your arch tells you that's what it is.
but I can't believe how many people can't tell where my front door is.
Yeah, but you would think the way your driveway is, because you know, that curved driveway.
Driveway, but they don't understand. I'm not sure I agree with this definition of official map, but
I want to, before we goes to the front line determination, rear lot line determination. Do you think there's going to be a 292 and no 212? Because they are playing definition, but they're dictating
which one?
front line determination, and rear lot determination, rear line.
Yeah.
I like the front lot line determination.
I like
definition.
You already,
I like them, but I don't think they should be in the definition, because they both have,
These are Cadbury's.
and have ordinances with it saying, this is how you're gonna determine it.
So you're thinking it should be in the ordinance section. Okay,
The Cadbury's.
we can discuss that then.
You understand?
Yeah.
I really like definition, this is the definition.
So both of those, you think it would be in the actual code? Okay, and not as a definition.
That would make sense.
Well, how long have we worked on trying to get, or get the code out of definitions?
Yeah.
And same with right of way lot, if it's gonna have that.
Yeah, I was kind of interested, I thought that was I was wondering how is this different from a flag lot, but okay.
So both of those, we're gonna move them to 219 is where we're gonna suggest that they get moved.
To 2.19,
2.19.
is that what you
Is that
suggested?
Is that the number you said?
Suggesting all three of those,
All three of these?
yeah, because it's got specifics about what it is and shall be. or
I didn't
will
read
be.
the middle one yet. I read the two, the top and the bottom.
Was there another one you were suggesting you moved to
The
219?
bottom and right of way.
Yeah, just those three, there's
Just
not
those
somewhere
three,
else,
right,
just
yeah.
those three,
I just hadn't read the middle one yet. I skipped to that one.
okay, just those three.
Ills,
I
wow.
didn't look there, so it's changed.
I was saying, I'm not sure when you get to official map, I'm not sure I like that. I think some of these things should be in the definition of official map. Some of the stuff is being eliminated.
Manufactured homes pretty regulated.
Yeah. Yeah, that one,
State regulated, all right. Now,
Yeah, that one takes care of itself, especially with HOAs and stuff.
I think the official map should show the public streets, and I think it should show the plats and the subdivisions. I don't think it should just. Well, okay,
Because it says it's the official maps of the town of Bridgeville, which will include the streets anyway. Because an official map has. it.
Yes. yeah, go ahead, Cameron.
So when we discussed this one about leaving that stuff in there. There may be times when you have an official operative map or an official floodplain map. Where you are not going to include those items yet, it's still an official map for the town.
You're generalizing it so we can call it whatever we want of an official map. That means our needs.
What is that? That's your.
Sorry, explain it, I'm not wrapping my head around it. You're saying, if we have maps that we're adopting as part of the general plan, and later on we say, hey, we want to have an aerial satellite map that becomes an official town map, that then has to be adopted into the general plan?
So official map would, when we discussed it before, we talked about how the reason why we would remove those requirements from an official map is because maybe the map doesn't pertain to roads or
Oh, I see.
or any of those type of things. Maybe we're just doing an official map that shows. That shows elevation.
Drainages or whatever.
Or maybe we do an official map that only shows drainages, or maybe we do an official map that only shows.
I wasn't looking at your strikeouts, I was trying to say, if we introduce a map like that, then it becomes an official, does it have to be adopted into the general plan, is that what you suggest? So we've done the general plan, and then Gene
Yes,
says, I want a satellite view of the town and make this an official town map. Will we then have to adopt that into the general plan?
I remember. I think the reason why it says that the general plan section in there is because. The only place where our code references an official map is in the general plan section.
Okay.
The only place where the land use ordinances. Reference an official map is in the general plan section. So that can easily go away. I don't think that's required, but.
I think I'd like to just change it to say maps which have been adopted by the land use authorities official maps. Is that where you're not having to redo your general plan every time you come up with it?
I realized that as I looked at it more, I went, okay, I think I see what the real issue is.
I mean, we may want to add them in there, but it doesn't require us to do it that way.
So we strike general plan.
Yeah, into the general plan, that's what I would suggest.
No, we
Maps
read
which-
in the general.
So we just say maps which have been adopted by the land use authority as official maps.
It takes out
Oh, it is.
general plan, so we don't have to rewrite the general
Okay.
plan, we just add is the point, which, that's a good point.
Do we have to have something in there on mobile homes? I mean, it's defined, we have manufactured home, anything that's prior to that is a mobile home.
I can't remember if our code references mobile homes and modular homes.
If I had my dream, if and when this mobile home park ever is dissolved or goes away, I think it would be wise to have something that says, this is the definition of a mobile home. And must be, in the town, they must be a mobile home park, and then that's it.
Right, because the new travel trailers that are coming out look like mobile homes. And then they put
There's always
skirting around them and they make them into a home. So that's where, that was my question, was gonna be how are we need to define that because the new things
Yes,
that
they-
are coming out are kind of going back to our same issue we had with the 1970s and all of those trailers.
That is defined by state law. If it's prior to 1976,
No,
or whatever it is, then it's a mobile home.
Right.
If it's after, it's a manufactured home.
But
That's
the
how-
new travel trailers are coming out like that. That's why when you're saying the same thing about when that, I guess we're not on the same page, but we need to define it better. Cause I think if you take axles off, it becomes a manufactured home.
Yeah, and the state says, the way that, and I know because we researched this pretty heavily, the state says you cannot deny a manufactured home any place where you would allow a regular home. You can't say, oh, we're not gonna let you put your manufactured home, even if it looks like a mobile home, but it's based on year. But what I'm saying is on the old ones, we ought to say something that says, this is the definition of a mobile home according to state code, and in the town of Virgin, a mobile home must be within a mobile home park zone. And then if the zone's gone, there's
We
no.
don't have a
definition.
zone for
Because I think if you leave it out, then somebody could argue, well, you didn't define where it can and can't
Well,
go.
and that's what the Utah League of Cities and Towns said, if you don't want it, you have to write it in.
Thoughts, Gene?
No. I've moved on to a different topic while you guys were talking, and I was looking up something I wanted to know.
Well.
But I,
Is
but
that
I,
right?
but I agree, I think we should see what Paul has to say.
Yeah, cause that,
You know he's
I
gonna.
think between all of us were coming up with the same, that's a problem to strike that 100%.
I guess I just want to think, I want to read the code, what we have in the code. We have a zone, we have a whole chapter on mobile homes, but if and when certain actions take place and that place ceases to
I think
exist,
there needs to be more,
it would be good to still have something in there to say, you can't just bring a mobile home into town.
give it a stronger,
It has to be in a mobile home park, and since we don't have a mobile home park, it's never in town.
I agree, cause that would solve the thing I was talking about.
Did you get a call from my guy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to get trained a little bit, we'll have plenty of.
Okay, we
That's
still have
good.
one more page, guys.
Well, maybe we have.
I thought you guys were on it.
Is
That was
that,
it.
well, there's the tiny bit with the motel. Did everybody look at that
We're on
one?
page 3.
We're on page
Top of
3.
page 4.
I'm still on page 2, geez. guys.
We've been
Oh,
on-
you're not.
Oh,
It was
it's-
here, that's on page 2, we're on it now.
You guys talked about mobile home, your issues with mobile homes, and you're right that because they said the training, if you want to prohibit it, you have to
Right.
prohibit it.
And I'll ask you about, I need to remind me after the meeting, I want to ask you about those
SOBs, okay,
SOPs,
SOBs, okay.
like dot.
Those are already written in, we did those like a year ago. All of them.
We finished it?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yes, we did. That one is good.
I don't like the word connected in this definition of a motel. You can have a motel and they're not connected.
I'd
It
like
could be
to,
like a little cabin.
I'd like to wait on that one anyway, because that's one of the things that he doesn't read it on.
Okay, I agree. Because I'm like, no, I've seen too many places that are called motels where it's like little cabins around, but because you can drive up to it, it's a motel.
And
And
I
they
had
don't
just,
have to be connected.
I did the one that he's crossing out, I did that like a year before, and I pulled it right from the legal side. But I want to, I would like you guys to see what he comes up with as far as what his suggestion release. I'm gonna let you do it on that one. Yeah, inventory.
Okay, that's the end then.
Okay,
We're just going in, or are we doing it into?
no, we went only through
Just
just those 3 pages. Pick up the rest next meeting. What I was looking up when you asked me a question, I said I lived on something else. I was verifying that I was correct. I wanted, the last item on the agenda was talking about the proposed changes to casita and guest counts, but they made some changes in the state code this last legislative session. I mean, it's gonna go into effect. By the time we get this approved, the new changes are gonna go into effect. So we might as well incorporate any new change, we might as well wait and incorporate any, look, so this
What's the
way,
state code?
it's the one they mentioned in here, it's, right here. If you look at the ordinances, they highlighted in yellow on your copy,
Oh, that code number,
yeah, Utah State Law 109A5002EI.
that's where it's renaming the casita,
Well, this says we're
the
bringing,
accessory dwelling unit.
this just says we're bringing Hulu into compliance with this,
Yeah.
but they made some changes in this
The
last.
legislature.
Yeah, that's why I say, let's just send it back, let them incorporate the changes from the state legislature and then,
I'm fine with that.
okay, and then we'll bring it back. That's all I was gonna suggest.
I'm fine with that.
The goal is to stay in compliance.
Yes, right, let's stay in compliance, so let's do that. Don't pass this and then turn around and get Lee out of compliance. Yeah, I've got your text.
You gotta say,
So are you there? You know, the whole definition changes.
What?
You have the wrong ordinance
For which one?
for the L's. L.
Oh, my God, so now we're gonna have to do it again.
From, I went and pulled this up from when we came to the town council in December. That's what we got.
It's still on one, because
This is what was in our folder in
To
the
approve.
December meeting.
I'm just saying, when planning and zoning, I don't think anything you guys did was wrong.
Okay,
But when we pass this on to you, we had removed all definition changes for any type of lodging.
That's right.
And I went back and I
I
verified
remember
it,
that, because I asked her to not do those.
and I went back and verified it in this folder, and
That's
this one she has here is. Does not have motel.
oh, okay, because we're waiting for E,
right.
okay.
Even then,
Yeah, so, no, I don't think it's any different than what you guys discussed,
Just that one.
just that. And there'll be probably others.
right, whatever.
Well, then, if he's making changes to that, what about this very next one that was on our list, this
Standards
is,
for conditions by use.
yeah, because it's talking about lodging.
Yeah, this is the one he was not supposed to do anything with.
Who-
Wait, hold on. No, this is the one that we did, and then I said, can we wait on it? Yeah, last time we met, I said, can we hold off on this?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to do this.
Okay,
This is my, I submitted
Still on
it, but I'm saying we should hold off on it because that's,
So we need to person to.
okay, so then the very last thing.
but I will say he made this really simple, pretty much eliminated all this stuff. I just brought it down like a bear.
Okay,
That's that.
okay, last thing and then we're done. Crystal just texted me and reminded me one question. That, since we're here, we might as well address. At the last town council meeting, we told, Justin Christensen that he had to come back to get an extension on his preliminary plat. Because it expires after 6 months in our town code, a preliminary plat expires at 6 months. And that he needed to come back and get an extension of his preliminary plat. So he's been calling Crystal about getting on the agenda for the extension of his preliminary plat. When I read the code about the preliminary plat, it doesn't require a public hearing, it doesn't require,
They give one extension.
they get an extension, but I seem to think, just from reviewing it, that all he has to do is come in and something just gets signed off and he has his
In the
extension
office. it
in the
doesn't have to
office,
come
and I don't think it has to be on the agenda. But just that we know that he got an extension, but I think that's all that's required. I don't see
Where
it
is it
has
at?
to be. The preliminary plat is, of course, it's in the chapter on,
For the
about the extension.
yeah.
I'll have to check,
Oh, look.
no, there's nothing in our code on how to do an extension.
It just says that it expires within one.
It just says it expires in 6
So
months.
is it like a building permit where the.
Right, it just says, it says that expires, preliminary plat expires in 6 months. So what we told him is, we'll extend it for you. But we have nothing in our code that says what you're supposed to do to get it extended, so I think we should be able to just do it in the office and then it doesn't require coming to town.
Yeah.
That's how it seems to me.
And
So we need to write some,
I would love to have something in there to direct us for future, because it'll happen.
because there is nothing in here. So I could ask Keith about this in my meeting on Monday with him as to what we could write up for.
It's a good point. Is there one for building permits too? Because I know there's.
No, we changed that code.
But is there an
They have
application?
90 days to start. Are you talking before it
So
expires?
if they ask for an extension before it expires, is there paperwork to travel with it? Because I think these need to go hand in hand.
There is no extension option for permit. You apply, and there's a reason for that. If you apply for it, if you haven't started in 90 days, the reason you have to restart is because codes change,
Well, for instance, someone that was remodeling their home,
right?
there is someone that got it and they waited a year. Is that part of
Before they
the
start.
conditions? So it took them that long to finish.
Yeah, so that's different. So the way it is you have 90 days to start, but once you started, you have, once you dig that first
Right,
shovel full of dirt, it starts a 180-day moving calendar.
right.
So you have 180 days to move your next load of dirt or else it expires.
Oh,
So it keeps going. Every time you
Okay,
start doing your
good
next piece, it
something.
extends it on.
okay.
That
I
came.
like that better. That
Well,
makes sense.
It was very two-dimensional in the past, but we didn't ever expect to have projects that were gonna be, these big projects gonna take down.
But the one I was thinking of in particular is a home.
Right.
And it would
Good
benefit
advice.
to have a process that they could have applied for.
Yeah, they should be fine if they were working on it throughout the time.
Right. Okay.
Okay, before we gavel this meeting to a close. Okay, so when I have my meeting with Heath on Monday, I'm gonna talk to him about extension of the preliminary plat, what exactly we should do. We're gonna talk to him about putting something in the code about parking on streets. There was something else I'm supposed to talk to him about. Out of everything we talked about, so, CUP, whether we would have a CUP, ordinance by our town council meeting.
Right, commission,
Are you gonna have him write the one up about the parking?
that'll be a commission thing, so I just wanted to run it by us, but it should go to the
I
commission.
was
Or
gonna
you said
at least get him to
suggested.
have some suggestions for us.
Yeah,
Did you catch that, Gene?
What,
So that needs to, I'm running it by you guys as a thought, run it by blah, 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 but that has to go through the commission.
oh yeah, you're talking about the CUP thing?
Right. so-
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to.
But I want him to bring us, look at it, and say, yeah, this is what we want, and then we send it to them.
It's fine.
Make
Make their job. I think we should make their job.
Well, we kind of flagship that, so I feel like it should start with us.
start with
and
us,
go to-
yes, I think. so.
Cause it was, we were the ones pushing it.
you're gonna get some stuff for the building ordinance.
Or the fire department, that, but I'm looking at, what was I gonna talk to Heath about? That I said, that I knew there were at least 3 things tonight, but I said I would talk to him about. But I agree with you on that, it started here, I think it should be done
I
by
think so,
us,
and
and we send it to them for the public hearing, and then send it back to us the next meeting.
Cause especially during the appeal, it was a big subject that we based a lot of what we did on.
Could you suggest to him on the preliminary plat? Just something to think about. It's valid for 6 months.
Uh-huh.
For whatever renewal process,
Uh-huh.
unless there are, and he can write this up, but unless there are substantial changes, they shouldn't have to resubmit like to the county and everything else. If they're gonna just resubmit the same plat, we should make it easy, but they're doing changes at the end of that 6 months, like big changes, then they have to start the process, and something like that. That makes sense.
Okay, anything else anybody wants to talk about?
Yes,
What?
big meeting.
Oh, good, I thought so too.
And look, it's like 3 minutes to 8.
If that clock's, is it ready? Tell me it's
Yeah,
ready.
it is, it's 7:57.
So I drive real fast, I could be in my bed by 8.
You have to drive really fast.
Don't
Okay.
make our clerk jealous.
You just go out and sleep in the car.
All right, what?
That's like one.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
oh, yes.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're done. Bye, everybody who's been watching online.
Hi, my friends. Crystal, there's still tons of candy right